Hello everybody, my name is Dexter Coray coming from the Davao City National High School Division of Davao City Region 11, and I'm here presenting to you my strategic intervention materials for grade 9 mathematics that's stated as the title, The Adventure of Diego, Cast of Knowing the Coverage Value of our Quadratic Equation Journey. Hope you enjoy this. Here comes the first one, is what we call as the forward. This is stipulated as the guides wherein the what is inside of my strategic material, and that is represented by the feature of this, and that given by the guided card, activity card, assessment card, and enrichment card. These are the things that we're going to consider in reaching out the needs of the student with respect to the least learned skills in grade 9 mathematics. And by the way, the grade 9 mathematics, going back to the school year 2021-2022, this quadratic equation, specifically the illustration and the solving using the factoring, extracting square root, and the quadratic formula, are those uh, identified least learned skills in the first year quarter last year. And so that is why I constructed uh, strategic materials referring this case. Okay, so to the teachers being able to involve this one in how to holistically expand the knowledge of the student, helping to expand the knowledge of the students with different styles, not using the not using the common type of assessment in performing in improving the learner's achievement. And of course, to the students, they will be able to explore themselves using the non-authentic, non non-traditional type of assessment, and that is to improve their holistic skills. And this would be my table of contents, uh, comprising of this strategic materials that I have. And of course, the other one, the part two, would be the attachment involving this strategic materials. Okay, this is now the title card presenting to the Adventure of Diego. I consider this one as most interesting part because I am glad and I'm grateful how to work out with performing, how to manage the skills on improving the skills of our learners nowadays. And of course, this would be the guide, the Jago's Adventure Trail. I hope the student will be able to read this slide for them to work out with how to manage themselves in performing these strategic materials that I have made. Of course, following the content standards and the performance standards in the most essential learning competency that we have in our Department of Education. Specifically, comprising the subtask, the identified least learned skills in the first quarter that we have, and that the one which is illustrate quadratic equation, and the second one is solving quadratic equation using the extracting squares, factoring using quadratic formula, as I've said a while ago. So here now is the guide for the learners to be able to work with these intervention materials that we have. The first one is the guide cards, then followed by the activity cards, then assessment cards, and the enrichment cards. Then after they were going to have the assessment card, the answer cards, and the reference cards. So hopefully students, you will be able to follow the certain guidelines in working with this, and I hope you will be able to read this one, how to manage yourself in working with this. Okay, so in the guide card one is using the quadratic equation, performing in solving the certain unknowns by the fact that you're using the exacting square roots. So if we're going to encounter this kind of problem, you will be the one to make use of this, and you are going to be careful in such a way that there's a need for you to be guided in working with this kind of situation. And of course, in the we also have a sub-objective that performs also with the binomial term of the quadratic expression, how to perform that one. And then in the guide card number 2, we have two sets of sub-objective. The first one is working with simple simple one simple factoring by how to cater with this, or how to cater it perform in how to perform the quadratic equation involving this kind of equation. And of course, in the other side, or the second sub-objective, we're going to make use of the using the factoring by the fact that you're going to make sure that your quadratic equation will be in the form of will be written in the standard one that performs with ax squared, that following the standard one, which is ax squared plus bx plus c, which is equal to 0. Okay, I want you to be guided for this. And now in the guide card number 3 is the one wherein we are now in the quadratic equation, but you're going to perform using the quadratic formula. But then the first one, the first certain objective that we have, the sub-objective, is we're going to make use, or going to find out the numerical coefficients of this. The numerical coefficient that deals with in the quadratic term, linear term, or the and in the constant term. And the sub problem number 2 is we're going to perform now how to solve the certain equation, the unknown variable, using the quadratic formula, which is represented by x, which is equal to negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, after working with the after analyzing, performing, understanding, remembering the certain sort of the guide card that we have from guide card number 1, number 2, and also we have in the number 3, we're going to perform now how to improve yourself. And that is, we're going to make use to perform the certain activity task that we have. So in the first activity 1, I incorporated the board game, which is Snake and Ladder. And we have now the guide question performing this one, in the first one. And also have the certain activities, how to perform, but then in the activity card 1 is just only focus on the extracting square roots. And take note, I give here the 100 type of equations, the quadratic equation, but you are going to perform only through extracting square roots. And if ever you have some doubts, you are going to monitor yourself as to perform the assessment as learning through your reflection. And then you also have to inform also your parents about out of this. And now activity 1 is, again, as I said, you're going to focusing only on the using the extracting square root. And then in activity number 2, you're going to perform using the factoring, by the fact that you're going to find the value of x with the corresponding letter out of that, and you're going to uh, up to complete the certain puzzle word that stipulated as incorporating the certain tribes who live in the Davao City area. So we have here the 6 Moro tribes. The answer of this will be reflecting on the 6 Moro tribes, incorporating how to contextualize the one. And then on the other side, still the same with the performing how the quadratic equation using the factoring. The other part, also the 5 Lumad tribes who also live in the Davao City region. Of course, you're going to perform and you're going to fill up the respective problem and the respective answer. If your answer might have in that reflected in the certain letter, you're going to complete the certain box in the corresponding letter that it has rather. Then we also have activity number 4, performing. We're going to determine the numerical coefficient of the quadratic term, linear term, and the constant term. Okay, this one relative to the quadratic formula. And of course, in activity 5, you're going to perform how to solve the quadratic equation, the unknown value, with respect to how to work with the quadratic formula. And of course, you're going to perform, and then you're going to monitor yourself through using it to give the reflection out of that. And then here we have the assessment card using the Freyer model below. You are allowed to make use of your mother tongue as long as you can just be able to explore yourself. You can able to express yourself in how to understand yourself in this topic, which is represented by quadratic equation. The four this we have the four quadrants that's stipulated. You're going to identify what would be the definition of the quadratic equation. You're going to create some examples. You're going to attach yourself how to apply the quadratic equation in real life situation, and then how to improve things to be improved in this situation. And this one following the certain guidelines, which is the rubric 1. So this one is also a non-traditional type of assessment wherein um, you're going to improve holistically in terms of performing how to work out with yourself in enhancing and enriching and improving yourself in mathematics, specifically in the quadratic equation. And of course, the enrichment card also performing this one, the activity wherein we have to think critically in this kind of activity. Then you are going to improve yourself through using the cooperative learning, and of course following the rubric standard, and focusing in the scenario wherein there's some scenario that relates this one, how to make use of this quadratic equation to the real life situation. And of course, this answer card will guide you in if your performance of your of or if your answer is really correct. So you're going to work on this answer card. Then we have here the activity 1, yung board game natin, and of course from 1 to 100, the answer 1. This one is the answer for the activity 2, the 6 Moro tribes that live in Davao City region. These are the answer. And also in activity 3, the 5 Lumad tribes who also live in Davao City. And activity 4, those numerical coefficients of quadratic term, linear term, and constant term. And in activity 5, the term we're in, we have to make use of the how to get the value of the uncertain unknown by using the quadratic form. And of course, as I said, in assessment card and enrichment card, we have to make use of the certain rubrics following the guidelines. And of course, we have here the reference card wherein the quadratic equation be found in this kind of book, which is the lesson guide in mathematics, reading mathematics, and intermediate algebra. Hope to enjoy this strategic intervention of mine focusing in the quadratic equation. Have enjoy and have fun in performing this one. Goodbye. Thank you so much for listening.